Lynn, and welcome to my first video for my channel, Hidden in Plain Sight. Now, I felt compelled to create this site to reveal some things that I felt like are not being disclosed. Not just this video, but I've got several more. We'll put them up maybe one a week, and I hope you'll like it, I hope you'll subscribe, because I think what you'll see in these videos is just going to blow your mind. It's going to be revolutionary. Now, this video, we're talking about Elon Musk and his relationship to Nikola Tesla. I believe that Elon has discovered what Tesla was always talking about, which is free energy for the world, and what ultimately was the downfall of Nikola Tesla. We'll have links in here showing where Nikola Tesla was basically discredited, and after providing what was alternating current, I mean, the power that we use to illuminate the world, it was this idea of free energy that they wouldn't allow. And they tore his towers down, and they discredited him in the papers, and he died penniless. And when he died, they confiscated all of his papers, and they classified them, and they're classified to this day. Let's cut to it. Let's get into the meat of it. Now, you think about Elon Musk, and many people often think of him in terms of Tesla or Twitter. They don't really think about all of the things he's done. Like, he created PayPal, which enabled him to do all of these other things, and then he sold PayPal. He created Tesla, SpaceX, the Boring Company, Neuralink. He actually created OpenAI and then sold that, and now he's created another company, another AI company called XAI. But it's the company that nobody really talks about, which is what is going to be the purpose and reason behind this video, and that's Starlink. I understand the rest of these companies, they all make perfect sense, but Starlink was just always something that I couldn't figure out. It's the cost-benefit analysis of it. And you think about how difficult it is just to launch a rocket into space, let alone to launch the number of satellites you would need to do this. It's overwhelming. I mean, you'll never make enough from Wi-Fi access to justify it. The cost of each satellite alone is upwards of $500,000, and that doesn't even bring into attention, the cost of them burning up in re-entry, or the cost of launching them in the first place, monitoring their telemetry, getting past the FAA regulations, and the number just to get enough into the sky. It's not for Wi-Fi. It can't be. I go places where I don't have a Wi-Fi signal, but I have a hotspot on my phone. It's not a problem that needed solving. And if you look at what they're charging for the Wi-Fi service itself, it's not a cost savings to anybody. So that couldn't be it. And so I looked at other companies. There's another company called OneWeb. Their initial plan was to launch 20 satellites, which they said would provide Wi-Fi service throughout the world, uninterrupted, with 20 satellites. Look at GPS. GPS has a lot of satellites. I don't know the exact number, but we'll show a graph here on the screen, which will show both of these companies and the scope of their satellites. OneWeb, they went bankrupt from just trying to get these 20 satellites into orbit. They've been sold, and now they're back in the attempt to get these satellites up. Their plan is for less than 1,000 satellites. Elon's plan was for 4,000 satellites, then he upped it to 12,000, and then he asked permission for an additional 30,000 satellites, which would bring a total to 42,000 satellites. That is mind-boggling. And then you look at the satellites for GPS. They're much further out in space, but they're still in what's called low Earth orbit, which is around 1,100 miles from the surface of the Earth. Elon's satellites are 342 miles from the surface of the Earth, which there's a reason for that too, which we'll get to. Back to this cost-benefit analysis. I mean, we're talking about $500,000 per satellite just for the manufacture of the satellite. Then you've got to launch it into space, you've got to maintain this telemetry, you've got to have stations that monitor all of these thousands and thousands of satellites. There's a lifespan to them. I mean, if you look at this page, it shows that currently there's something like 3,800 Starlink satellites up. There's another 300, 400 that have burned up or are in the process of burning up. So we're right at that cusp of the initial 4,000 that he asked for. But he launches them every week. Every week, 60 satellites, sometimes twice a week it's happened on these reusable rockets. And what could be the real reason behind that? Well, the answer has been hidden in plain sight all along. And it's this free energy that Nikola Tesla talked about. And who is a bigger fan of Nikola Tesla than Elon Musk, who named his car company Tesla? The Earth itself is essentially a battery. It is a magnetic field. And when you surround a magnetic field with copper wire, you create an electrical current. Now, it doesn't have to be copper wire. It can be anything that conducts electricity. You can see this with an induction burner, a magnetic field that's created. The surface doesn't get hot, but you're able to cook on it in another thing that conducts that magnetic field. When I initially thought of this, I'd given it great thought. It's the one company of Elon's that did not make sense to me at all. And I just couldn't understand why he would spend so much money for Wi-Fi. Now, not to say that it hasn't benefited. It benefits the Ukrainians now in their communications with each other so that they can carry on this war with Russia, and that's tremendously important. There's 40 million people in the Ukraine, and nobody wants to see them be exterminated. But that's not the goal, ultimately. That war had not started when he began this project. So what could it be? Well, when you have a magnetic field, as we do with the Earth, it's this huge magnetic field. It repels the solar winds. It enables life to be sustainable on Earth because it protects us from all of the solar radiation. This magnetic field repels all that, causes it to shift around the Earth. But by rotating all of these satellites at roughly 18,000 miles per hour each in these orbital planes, you're generating electricity. That explains why the satellites themselves are 342 miles from the surface of the Earth versus the 1,100 that is typical for low Earth orbit. That power is able to be transmitted through a far field transmission. We're all familiar with near field transmissions. You can see that when you use an induction burner, for example, or when you just charge your cell phone on a plate without having to plug it in. That's a near field transmission. Now, a far field transmission is much more powerful and would need to be distributed to a power station or a tower of some sort. But we already have the grid necessary to distribute that power, and the cost then would only be maintaining that grid. When you have a magnetic field and you rotate a copper wire, say, around that magnetic field, you generate an electric current. There's a great video by this guy, Robert Murray Smith. In this video, he's moving the magnets and the copper coil is stationary, but it has the same result. And the faster he moved the magnets, the more power was generated. Now, these satellites are moving at 18,000 miles an hour, and we'll have ultimately 42,000 of them in these orbital planes around the Earth. That will generate humongous power, enough to power the entire world for free. Now, with the far field transfer versus the near field transfer of power is able to happen because of this symbiotic relationship electrical currents and magnetism have for one another. If you get one close to another, it will absorb some of that power. You can see this through tuning forks. If you hit a tuning fork that's tuned to the same frequency, will start vibrating at that same tone. Induction units create a magnetic field. You put a copper pan or a stainless steel pan or aluminum, something that will conduct electrical current on that, and the unit itself never gets hot. It's not direct heat, but that power is transferred through this electromagnetism. And that's the safest way to cook, technically, but it's also very fast. But it's this far field power transfer that is more tricky. You have to do that through a microwave or through a laser, and that power dissipates to square the distance. But having these satellites closer to Earth enables more of that power to be distributed. And also, possibly having so many of the satellites in orbit will be able to send smaller signals, I would think. I would distribute that power amongst 42,000 satellites versus one direct beam. But, essentially we already have the grid to distribute that power to a tower and then disperse it amongst civilization to our homes. Then we only have the cost of maintaining that power structure, the poles, the wires, the cables, not the production of the power itself. It's transformative, and it will be the largest power vacuum the Earth has ever seen. You think about how every war is funded by the accumulation of these power sources. I mean, the oil in Saudi Arabia supports this Saudi Arabian family all throughout the Middle East, really. Russia's only export is oil. That's what they're using to fund the Ukrainian war. It's a tremendous asset here in the United States because we have so many natural gas and oil reserves. And nations like Venezuela that are a dictatorship and really are able to be so powerful because they have oil to sell and it finances everything. Now, worldwide power for free would transform all of that. And it is terrifying for someone like Elon Musk. It must be. They destroyed Nikola Tesla over it, and they will come after him. But having this information out there, I think, at this point, could be what saves Elon. If this were to get out before the public as a whole knows what the purpose of these satellites really is, truly is, then, they could say, oh, well, he was just, he was in his 50s, he just had a heart attack. But this is more an insurance against, them going after him. Because I think that the world needs to know about this. I think for the sake of all of humanity. I mean, what I spend on power each month, you think not only a power bill, but a gas bill, all the gas that you put into your car each month, and then everything that you buy, its cost is inflated based on the power that's caused to generate it and the fuel that's needed to get it from A to B. That plays a humongous role in the overall expense of everything that we buy. Critics say that power stations can't supply all of the power that's needed for all of the cars to go electric. No, that is true at this point because, we need fossil fuels. We would crash the power grid if everybody converts to electrics. But if there's worldwide free electricity by virtue of utilizing the Earth's magnetic field to generate this electric current, then it's better than wind, it's better than solar, it's better than tidal monitoring buoys that generate power by the rise and fall of the tides. It's truly the easiest to capture and most prolific source that we have. It won't be affected by a cloudy day, which would affect solar absorption. It will be continuous, and therefore it can't be understated how profound this change will be. Now, in summary, this is going to seem out there, but it's truly the cause for this. It has to be. Nothing else makes sense. You have to have this many satellites going at the speed of orbit, which is 18,000 miles an hour. And you have to have more of them, the more power is generated. It's the only reason for Starlink. And it's so obvious when you think about all of the different aspects. And name it as a car company, Tesla promoting free energy for the world, Elon's understanding of electromagnetism, and the fact that he truly seems to me trying to do everything he can for the benefit of humanity as a whole. I think he's a genius. I would never bet against Elon, and I tell everyone that ever has anything negative to say, I shut him right now, because the facts just can't be disputed. I'm Robert Lim. This is my channel, Hidden in Plain Sight. You can support us by liking it, subscribing to it, or this being my first video. If you want to support this channel and all of the videos that we have in the future, we have a Patreon page. It's patreon.com/hiddennomore. I look forward to all the comments that y'all have. Tell me if none of this makes sense. Tell me if it makes perfect sense. Let's hear about it. Thank you for watching.